The anticipation surrounding the upcoming Greatest Rivalry Series between the Springboks and the All Blacks continues to grow, but as excitement builds, so does the debate over how the two rugby giants are expected to approach one of the sport's most fiercely contested battles. While supporters are eagerly looking forward to witnessing two world-class teams competing at the highest level, discussion has shifted beyond team selection and tactics to focus on the pace of the game itself. Recent comments from New Zealand pundits have reignited a familiar debate, with accusations that the Springboks deliberately slow matches down through legal yet controversial methods. Those claims have added another fascinating layer to an already highly anticipated series, placing the spotlight not only on the players but also on the officials who will oversee the contests. Whether those concerns prove justified or not, they have certainly intensified conversations among rugby fans around the world, ensuring that every decision, every stoppage, and every moment of the series will be closely scrutinized. Much of the recent discussion began after former Crusaders scrum half Bryn Hall suggested that the All Blacks would attempt to run the Springboks off their feet by maintaining an exceptionally high tempo throughout the series. His comments reflected a growing belief that the New Zealand side has rediscovered a faster, more expansive style of rugby under the guidance of head coach Dave Rennie. Since taking charge, Rennie has repeatedly emphasized the importance of speed, continuity, and keeping the ball in play whenever possible. That philosophy has become increasingly visible in the team's recent performances, where the All Blacks have looked determined to move the ball quickly, stretch defensive systems, and force opponents to make repeated high-intensity efforts. Supporters believe this renewed identity represents one of the team's greatest strengths heading into one of rugby's biggest rivalries. The conversation became even more intense when outspoken New Zealand broadcaster and podcast host Mark Watson shared his own assessment of what he expects to see during the tour of South Africa. Speaking passionately about the challenge awaiting the All Blacks, Watson argued that no team in world rugby could consistently match New Zealand's combination of fitness, athleticism, and attacking tempo when they are allowed to play uninterrupted. According to his view, this fast-paced identity has long been embedded in New Zealand rugby culture and remains one of the country's defining characteristics. He believes that maintaining that rhythm will be one of the All Blacks' biggest priorities throughout the series because it places enormous physical pressure on opponents over the course of 80 minutes. However, Watson also predicted that the Springboks would do everything within the laws of the game to disrupt that rhythm. He suggested that fans should expect numerous stoppages during the matches, claiming that situations involving equipment adjustments, contact lens replacements, minor injuries, or other delays could become more common whenever South Africa feels the need to slow the tempo. Importantly, these comments represent his personal opinion rather than established fact, but they have nevertheless generated widespread discussion among rugby supporters. Such observations highlight how closely every aspect of elite Test rugby is analyzed, especially when two of the sport's greatest rivals prepare to meet on one of its biggest stages. According to Watson, managing the flow of the game could ultimately become just as important as dominating possession or winning the set pieces. He argued that the All Blacks would benefit from referees who are prepared to keep play moving whenever possible while applying the laws consistently to both teams. In his opinion, officials who encourage continuity could allow New Zealand's preferred style to flourish, whereas frequent interruptions might naturally favor a side that is comfortable playing a more structured and physical contest. Once again, these views have sparked debate rather than consensus, illustrating how interpretations of rugby tactics often differ depending on perspective, national allegiance, and individual coaching philosophies. The debate surrounding match tempo is far from new in international rugby. Throughout the professional era, successful teams have constantly searched for ways to maximize their own strengths while limiting the strengths of their opponents. Some teams prefer prolonged phases with quick ball movement and continuous attacking pressure. Others build success through physical dominance, tactical kicking, defensive discipline, and controlling territory. Neither philosophy is inherently right or wrong. Instead, they reflect different rugby cultures, coaching approaches, and player strengths. The Springboks have built a reputation over many years as one of the most physically imposing teams in world rugby, while the All Blacks have traditionally been celebrated for their creativity, speed, and attacking ambition. Those contrasting identities are precisely what makes their rivalry so compelling. Whenever these two nations meet, every contest becomes a battle of styles as much as a battle between individual players. Supporters know that momentum can swing dramatically depending on whether the match becomes an open, high-speed encounter or a tightly contested physical struggle dominated by collisions and tactical exchanges. That reality explains why discussions about refereeing, stoppages, and game management often become major talking points before the opening whistle has even been blown. Every decision can influence momentum, field position, player fatigue, and ultimately the final outcome of the match. Since taking over as head coach, Dave Rennie has consistently spoken about creating an environment where players are encouraged to play positively while maintaining discipline and composure. His early matches in charge have given supporters reasons for optimism, with many observers believing the All Blacks have shown renewed confidence in attack. The speed at which they recycle possession, support ball carriers, and transition from defense into attack has become one of the defining features of the team's recent performances. Rather than relying solely on individual brilliance, the squad appears increasingly committed to playing with collective purpose. Quick decision-making, and relentless work rate. That renewed energy has inevitably increased expectations ahead of the tour to South Africa. Playing the Springboks away from home remains one of the toughest assignments in international rugby. South African crowds create an intimidating atmosphere, while the home side's physicality, set-piece excellence, and defensive organization have repeatedly challenged even the world's strongest teams. For the All Blacks, maintaining their preferred tempo in such demanding conditions will require exceptional fitness, composure, and execution. Every player will need to make accurate decisions under pressure while avoiding unnecessary errors that could hand momentum to their opponents. Following the announcement of his 44-man touring squad, Dave Rennie was asked whether his coaching staff would discuss game management with match officials before the series began. While he did not directly respond to the criticism aimed at the Springboks, he acknowledged that maintaining the pace of the game is an important part of how the All Blacks want to play. He confirmed that conversations with officials are a normal part of international preparation and suggested that ensuring clarity around interpretations would naturally form part of those discussions. His response remained measured and respectful, focusing on his own team's objectives rather than engaging directly with criticism directed toward their opponents. That balanced approach reflects the professionalism often expected at the highest level of international rugby. Coaches regularly communicate with officials before major test matches to better understand interpretations, clarify expectations, and ensure players are fully informed about how certain situations may be managed during the game. Such conversations are a routine aspect of elite competition rather than an indication of conflict between teams. They help create consistency and allow both sides to prepare as effectively as possible for the unique challenges each test presents. As the Greatest Rivalry Series approaches, it is becoming increasingly clear that this contest will be about far more than statistics, rankings, or recent results. It will showcase two proud rugby nations whose contrasting philosophies have produced some of the sport's most memorable moments. Whether the games unfold at breathtaking speed or develop into intense tactical battles, fans can expect world-class athletes competing with enormous commitment and determination. Discussions about tempo, refereeing, and tactical approaches will undoubtedly continue throughout the series, but once the opening whistle sounds, attention will quickly shift to execution on the field. Ultimately, success will depend not on pre-match predictions or public debate, but on which team best adapts to the conditions, responds to pressure, and performs consistently across 80 demanding minutes. The rivalry between the Springboks and the All Blacks has always been defined by excellence, resilience, and mutual respect, and this latest chapter promises to add another fascinating story to one of rugby's greatest traditions.